Welcome back to Stage Left. Today is day 2 of 365, and we're discussing Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. Stay tuned. Soon, but we had to come through Abington on our way, and I want... Oh, God. Welcome back, everyone. As I said, we're discussing Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie. It's day 2 of 365. I'm coming to you from my car in a parking lot because that's what I can do right now. But I wanted to discuss this play. I read it again, and it had been the first time I'd read this play since producing it in 2000 and maybe 9 or 8. But I'm obsessed with Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams was born about 2 hours south from my hometown, about 2 hours from where I live now, and in the hometown of my graduate school. So Tennessee Williams' name is thrown around a lot in Mississippi because he's a Mississippi native. But when he was young, his father got a job at a factory in St. Louis and moved the family there. And that is where Tennessee Williams really built the bulk of his childhood. He moved around quite a bit, but a lot of it was in St. Louis. And The Glass Menagerie is based in an apartment in St. Louis. It tells the story of the Wingfield family, Amanda, Tom, and Laura. So The Glass Menagerie is a memory play. And even Tennessee Williams talks a lot in his introduction about what a memory play is and the theatrical and creative liberties you can take with memory plays. And The Glass Menagerie is chock full of them. The show is narrated by a character, so it's almost very Brechtian in a sense. Tom breaks the fourth wall. He speaks directly to the audience. It is a memory play. You're supposed to know you're watching a play. The characters are all striving for different things, though. Laura's mother, Amanda, wants Laura to get a suitor, and that's kind of the story of the play is Amanda's desire to have a suitor come over and court Laura, and that does happen in the second act, and it leads to some tension when the suitor breaks the glass menagerie. And the glass menagerie being a physical object, but also kind of a symbolic object of this family's existence and the world that they're living in. Tom is the man of the family, but is he a patriarch? I don't read him as such. So there's a lot of different angles coming here. I love how Tennessee Williams describes the show opening. He says, you see Tom, you see through a gauze or a scrim, and you see the apartment, and yet through another gauze and scrim, there's the dining room. So it's almost like this apartment is revealed to you in stages. This play was it was an early play for him, and it was probably one of his most commonly produced. It did kind of push him into stardom. He had done one other play before this, and he had opened it in New York, or maybe in Boston, and had gotten really bad reviews. People weren't fond of it, and so Tennessee was very kind of gun-shy because of this. And so he decided he wanted to open the play in Chicago. And he did, and he made some edits in Chicago. And then the play did go to Broadway, and it was the first of many plays to go to Broadway. A lot of his plays, like Night of the Iguana or Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, they seem to be much darker than this. And not to say that The Glass Menagerie doesn't have a dark side to it, but it's almost, the memory kind of puts it in rose-colored glasses. And so a lot of the show is seen through these, like, for lack of a better term, rose-colored glasses, these tinted eyes that they see their past and their future in. And the events of their lives have brought them to a point where they are finding other things to focus on other than themselves to escape the grim reality that they're in. And you think, oh, this theatrical device, how poignant and literary to have these other things you obsess with, but we as humans do that every single day. It's really interesting to me that the way that Williams shapes these characters, for instance, Amanda grows up and is born in Blue Mountain, Mississippi, a town I've visited probably 3 or 4 times in the last month during my travels back to see family members over the holidays. And I never realized that this was the case. It's also interesting to me the way they describe Laura's mental fragility. That is something that people are more sensitive about today, but the way they talk about it in the play, it definitely has a dated tone to it now. So, back to the play. I can get off on tangents. So, at the climax of the play, the suitor or the courtier, the guy that comes to court Laura, Jim, shares in this slow dance with her. And he breaks a glass unicorn that's part of the menagerie. And he takes that glass, or she takes that glass unicorn and gives it to him after he admits that he is actually engaged to be married. What's interesting to me is that Tom says that he doesn't believe Jim is engaged at all, but made up this story because he has no romantic interest in Laura. And this is the way he's going to get out of that. Tom tells in his closing monologue that he is leaving, and he instructs Laura to blow out the candles, and that's kind of the end of the play, and he never returns to see his mother or his sister again. I think this play made me more interested in Tennessee Williams than it did in The Glass Menagerie. Like I said, the name Tennessee Williams has been pelted at me time and time and time again, and I had never taken the time to think about the man that was trying to write this. As I do with any play I read, I start looking at backgrounds, and I really enjoyed looking at photos of Tennessee Williams as he aged. Like I said, we have a lot in common. We're both gay men. We're both from Mississippi. We're both artists. We're both feel like we're struggling to change things. Tennessee Williams was kind of coming up with his own sense of theater. And he was coming up with kind of his own theories on how it should be produced. And much like me, he believed theater needed a change, that it had kind of hit a dead point. And as the arts, do time and time again, that's the point of Renaissance. So I think the play, while it did remind me of the lovely story of The Glass Menagerie, it reminded me of the great American playwright and figure we have in Tennessee Williams and all the great offerings he gave to us in a literary sense, but also in a societal sense. He really did reflect society. I won't say truthfully, but he reflected society in a way that was evoking to us as humans and the human condition on stage. So, like I said, the play catapults Tennessee Williams into stardom. He never really looks back until later in life. His partner dies, Frank Marlowe. And when his partner dies, they had broken up right before the breakup, but then Frank was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Williams does come back and care for Frank in this time. And when Frank passes away, Williams starts being more of an alcoholic. He starts taking different drugs, mostly like barbiturates and stuff. I'm not talking about like heroin or meth. He's taking pills, and he never has another hit again. And so Williams, he has a Manhattan apartment that he stays in for much of the rest of his life. He had homes all over the country. And one of my favorite things about researching him was getting to see these different unique places that he lived. I'm almost jealous of his life in many ways. But the man also had a dark end. And that's something that is poignant. So I want to talk for a minute about Laura's mental illness. It doesn't really specify what it is, but it does say that her mental illness, it kind of insinuates that her mental illness is social anxiety and like a slight psychosis. And I think it's interesting because in many works, whether it be movies, TV, scripts, books, whatever, in any media, at this point, mental illness is often treated as everything but fragile. And I think it's interesting that Tennessee Williams, who has been exposed to mental illness in his life, realizes that it is fragile. And so I love that he portrays Laura with a sense of fragility, and that her glass menagerie collection is representative of both Laura and her kind of mental state, but also the state of the family, right? It's like if we keep putting all of these pieces, it's going to look so pretty, and like just keep putting it together. But if one piece falls and crashes, it's not as pretty because it's all made up, right? And too often we do that in families. I know families that from the outside, they look beautiful like glass figurines, and on the inside, it's a shattered mess. And I think this was the case too, or at least Amanda was trying to portray the stability in the family, but a lot of reviews say that, they believe that Jim is aware that Amanda's doing this, and that's why he's not showing romantic interest in Laura. Others say it's the mental illness that's causing him to not show romantic interest in Laura. Either way, it is a new way, to my knowledge, of expressing mental illness on stage as this fragile state, not a psychosis, not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if you will, but as something that needed to be guarded and protected, and that Tom and Amanda were doing this to some extent, right? It's also very captivating to me that you're telling this story with so few people. The original play only has 4 people in it. Now, it can be expanded to 5. I think they did a Broadway maybe revival where they expanded and the narrator was separate. But in general, 4 people. So it's quite a small, contained little play. And, Williams, he didn't just write this. It was written as I hate to use the word skit, but it was written as a small tableau, and then it got expanded in different ways and in other ways. So finally, Williams took the time to expand it completely. I believe he was in California, actually, attempting to work as a screenwriter when he finally expanded The Glass Menagerie into a full-length play. So I would love to have read the earlier versions. They may be available, and I'm going to do some more research and figure it out. Again, I'm sorry for being in my car, but this is where you got to meet with me tonight. And so I look forward to tomorrow. We're going to be leaving America and going to a different place altogether. So as far as playwrights are concerned, so join me tomorrow. It will be day 3, so 3 plays in 3 days. It hasn't overwhelmed me yet, but I'm sure there's going to be a day soon. But I hope you enjoyed me talking a little bit about The Glass Menagerie. If you haven't seen yesterday's video where we talked about Bertolt Brecht's Mother Courage and Her Children, please do go back and watch that video. Again, these videos, they're not meant to be complete reviews. These are not study guides. These are just simply my thoughts on the play that I'm sharing with you. I'm not a phenomenal writer, so blogging is not my thing, and this is an easy way to connect with you and share. So please come back for our next episode of Stage Left.